Welcome to the Runner's World Shoe Review with me, Rick Pearson.
And me, Jane McGuire.
Today we're talking about the Salomon S Phantasm. Was the Phantasm fantastic or was it a flop for you?
I'd have to put it in the flop category, and that's no shade on the shoe. Well, it is shade on the shoe. That's a lie. I am a runner who loves all things cushioning, all things foam. The more foam, the better. I'd run in a flat form if you could. Well, a lot of the shoes are flat forms. This is so flat. Like, that is a tiny amount of kind of quite hard foam, isn't it? I wouldn't call them a plush shoe.
It's not a Hoka. No, it's not like a Hoka.
It's not a Hoka, and I really struggled to enjoy it. I did get into my first mile in them. I thought, should I go home and change them? And that's not a good review of any shoe. But I know you love them, so
yeah, these are my kind of shoes. So as you say, quite flat. I'm calling these kind of shoes sort of sensible minimalist. There are other minimalist shoes out there, and I've run a lot of those shoes because that's the kind of shoe that I like. I like racing flats.
Kind of guy you are.
Kind of guy I am. But these shoes, you could put in some miles in these shoes. I think it's not, they're not a kind of VRAM 5 fingers where you might struggle to put in serious mileage with them. So I liked that amount of foam. It's like a 6mm heel to toe drop, which again I think is that kind of nice end of minimalism. It's not completely zero drop, so it's not putting loads and loads of pressure on calves and Achilles. And I also think, and again I think we don't have the same opinion on this, but I think they look pretty good. I like the kind of all red look. What do you reckon?
We can already see the difference in how much we run in them by the colour, because mine look absolutely box fresh. I'm not a fan of the colour, to be honest. They're quite bright, aren't they? You can really see. Actually, my main beef with the look at the mesh. Look how thin that is for a winter shoe, Rick. What socks are you wearing? My feet were freezing in these.
Okay, let's look at some parts of this shoe. So let's start with the upper. We've talked a little bit about how kind of porous it is, and you can almost see my fingers through that. So obviously not great if you're running through puddles and all the rest of it. I guess the justification for that for me would be you're getting, I think, still quite a bit of shoe for under 200 grams, which is quite a hard feat to pull off. And one of the ways to do that, of course, is to take weight out of the upper. So getting a really porous upper like this, I think, is a decent justification for bringing the weight down. I also, once I got the lacing system right, which was a little bit fiddly, I found, I liked the fit. I thought the fit was really good. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. The kind of mesh tongue, I did find a bit, you did have to kind of, I've got quite a high arch, so I really had to pull it around to kind of feel like my foot was wrapped in. So it did take a little bit of adjusting, but the fit was standard. I'd say I'm a standard size 5 and they fit well. I did have a problem with the upper. I got really cold feet.
The midsole then. So the midsole is, Salomon are pretty excited about this. They call it the energy surge. So you can see that there. It's about energy surge midsole. So it's the latest technology, and essentially I think they're trying to create something that is, in simplest terms, comfortable but responsive at the same time and lightweight. For me, I think that the midsole delivers that. I did find it nice and responsive underfoot. As I said, I am used to running in minimalist shoes. I think that is enough cushion. Personally, I wouldn't run 24 hours in these, definitely not. But I could run a marathon, I think, in them. So I actually quite like the midsole. What are your thoughts?
I couldn't run 24 hours in any shoe. Don't challenge me to that. I couldn't run a marathon in them. I found that is so, it doesn't look thin on camera, but it is thin. For me, I find that really thin. I think if I were to try and run any sort of distance in this shoe, I'd have to build up. I compare running in these for the first time I put a pair of Bevo barefoots on, which I don't know if I can mention in this video. Are they competitor? Who knows? And I walked home in them, which is about 3.5 miles. And I then had to go to the London Marathon Expo the next day, and I couldn't walk. And people were like, oh, have you just done a race? I was like, no, I've worn Vivos for the first time. I think you'd have to train, you'd have to build up your mileage if you're not used to running in something. I found that it was very hard, and I felt like I could feel the pavement more than I'm used to.
The outsole here. So it's something called Contragrip, and I thought actually it's obviously a road shoe, although there's a bit of mud here, but that's the season that we're in, isn't it? I thought it was good. I thought it was pretty grippy. No complaints about that, and quite a nice smooth transition. You can almost see it's like a almost slight rocker there. Not as much of a rocker as like a Hoka, but bit of a rocker.
Very slight. Yeah, I agree. I ran on a wet evening, and I was a bit worried because, you know, there's not a lot. I felt, oh god, that's gonna be slippy, but it wasn't. But I'll give it to the shoe. I didn't fall over. Did stop and walk at parts, but I didn't fall over in it.
These are £165. That's in line with other shoes on their S-Lab, stuff like their the Ultra shoe that tend to be trail shoes. So I think with Salomon, people have got used to spending kind of higher end because they're you know, very established, very well thought of brand. I guess the thing you could say is that most of their creds are in trail, so this is their first step into road running, and yeah, it's a real premium price, and I think possibly just given that there are other, you know, the other competitors out there, and the fact it's not got a carbon fiber plate, I'm not sure how competitive £165 is for what is actually quite a stripped back basic shoe.
I would agree, and I would even argue that I know it's really lightweight and the upper's really thin, but does that make this a summer shoe? You're going to maybe say no because you've been running it in the winter, but I don't know if I would want to run a lot in this shoe in the winter because I found it really cold. But you know, I don't know. Maybe I'm weak, but I would say when I don't have a problem with the no carbon plate, because I know a lot of brands are kind of not going near the carbon plate, and that's fine. But I do agree. I think it's a lot of money for a shoe that, you know, looks and feels very basic on purpose. It's not. I'm not slating it. I think they've gone for a real stripped back feel, and I think it's maybe £30-40 a bit much.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. The one thing I would say, and this is just for big Kilian Jornet fans such as myself, there is something about running in the shoe of a runner that you really admire. So and the kind of hope that some of that style quality might rub off onto your own running, and that definitely has this. The idea that he's been very involved in the making of it, which I think is true, is appealing to me. And if you're a big fan of Kilian, then you know there's a curiosity in trying out a shoe that he's been involved in, I think. So conclusions with the S-Lab Phantasm. I'm a fan, actually. I think it's a decent shoe. Lots of things to admire about it from my perspective. It's minimalist, but also with enough protection, I think, if you're into kind of racing flats to go up to a marathon in it. I like how it looks, and I liked how grippy it was underfoot. I do think that it's possibly not as competitive price-wise as it should be, but I would definitely run on it again.
I'm gonna say complete opposite. I wouldn't run in it again. I'm gonna stick to, I don't know where this would fit in probably for speed work, and for me it's just not cushioned enough for speed work. I'm gonna stick to my foam, but I did learn a lesson from this very bright red shoe that I do too many miles and I've relied too much on a lot of foam, and I think it's taught me that I need to embrace a minimalist shoe now and again to kind of really work on my technique and not rely on running on a mattress all the time. But I'm probably not, it's not going to become a weekly staple in my running shoe wardrobe.